Everywhere you look right now, there's a conversation happening about men. Not quietly either. It's loud, constant, and everywhere at once. And somehow it always circles back to the same topic: relationships and marriage. You see it on podcasts, short clips, debates, documentaries. Different people, different tones, different conclusions, but they're all reacting to the same underlying shift. New labels keep popping up to describe it: manosphere, red pill, MGTOW, passport bros, each one trying to define what's happening and why. Some people say men are becoming bitter. Others say they're becoming selfish. And some argue they're just avoiding responsibility altogether. But those explanations feel incomplete. They focus on emotion, not structure, on behavior, not incentives. Because if you step back and look at it properly, what you're seeing isn't just a reaction, it's a recalculation. Men aren't stepping away from marriage randomly. They're stepping back to evaluate it. And that's a very different thing. For most of history, marriage wasn't something you questioned. It wasn't a decision you optimized. It was just part of the path. You grew up, you worked, you got married, not because you ran the numbers, but because that's how life was structured. And that structure existed for a reason. Marriage solved real problems at the time, problems that people couldn't solve alone. It provided economic stability. It created a framework for raising children, and it defined clear roles within a household. Two incomes weren't optional in the same way. Social mobility was limited, and long-term survival often depended on partnership. So marriage wasn't just about love, it was about coordination, about building a functional unit in a constrained world. But fast forward to today, and most of those constraints have changed or disappeared entirely. You can earn your own income, build your own career, and live independently without relying on a partner. You can have relationships without legal contracts, share experiences without shared liabilities, build connection without formal structure. So naturally, the role of marriage starts to shift, not emotionally, structurally. It's no longer the only path to the same outcomes. And once something stops being necessary, it becomes optional. And once it becomes optional, it gets evaluated. That's the turning point most people miss. The conversation moves from why not to what do I actually get? And that question changes everything. Because now you're not following a path. You're making a decision. You start comparing scenarios, looking at outcomes, thinking in terms of trade-offs instead of tradition. And when men do that, they don't just see benefits, they see both sides of the equation. On one side, there's companionship, shared life, a sense of unity and long-term partnership. On the other side, there's financial exposure, legal complexity, and a reduced level of individual control. And whether people admit it or not, that second side carries weight, especially in an uncertain world, because the modern economy isn't stable, careers aren't linear, and long-term planning is harder than it used to be. Flexibility matters more now. Optionality matters more. The ability to pivot matters more. So any decision that reduces flexibility gets scrutinized more heavily, not emotionally, strategically. And that's where marriage enters a different category. It's no longer just a personal decision. It becomes a structural commitment with real consequences. Men today are also more aware of risk, not necessarily because things are worse, but because information is more visible. They see divorce statistics. They understand asset division. They hear real-world stories, not just ideal outcomes. And instead of ignoring that information, they factor it into the decision, just like they would with any major commitment. That doesn't mean they don't value relationships. Most still do, deeply. But they separate relationships from institutions. They ask a different question. Not, do I want a partner? But do I need marriage to have one? And if the answer is unclear, the decision gets delayed or avoided entirely. That's why you're seeing more long-term relationships without marriage, more cohabitation without contracts, more people building lives without formalizing them legally. It's not rebellion. It's not apathy. It's a shift in how decisions are made. Marriage used to justify itself automatically. Now it has to compete with alternatives, and that changes how people approach it. So when people ask, why are men opting out? They're asking the wrong question. It's not about opting out. It's about not opting in without a clear reason, without a clear advantage. Because once something becomes a choice, people start optimizing for outcomes, not expectations. And that's why two people can look at the same decision with the same information and reach completely different conclusions. Not because one is right and the other is wrong, but because they value different things. Some prioritize stability and shared structure, others prioritize flexibility and independence. Both are valid, but they lead to different paths. And until the value of marriage becomes clearer again, or more aligned with modern incentives, that hesitation isn't going anywhere. If this made you think differently, hit like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.